All right, the co-main event of the evening is a fans freak show fun fight of epic proportions with Platinum Mike Perry taking on Mickey Gall. Let's break this one down for any meat boy who needs some context. 2014, you got a guy named CM Punk, signed by the UFC. He's a WWE superstar. Mickey Gall, meanwhile, at this time is about 1-0, a very green fighter. Via Dana White's looking for a fight. This is now around 2015. Mickey Gall specifically says, Dana, give me CM Punk. Boom, this young, tall, good-looking, technically undefeated fighter called his shot. The fight gets scheduled. CM Punk, however, then gets hurt, and they decided to give Mickey Gall a guy named Mike Jackson, who I'm pretty sure is a reporter. Gall dispatches of Mike Jackson in about a minute, and so I kind of just want to go over some inventory of Mickey Gall's wins and front load for you meat boys why I think this fight is going to be an absolute destruction via the hands of Platinum Mike Perry. So again, Gall's first win is over a reporter on a couple days' notice. He beats the shit out of him. The second fight is finally the CM Punk charade. Gall smashes CM Punk, showcases why you can't just pick up MMA in your late 30s and try to be successful. So now we got the runs. Mike Jackson is his first win. CM Punk is his second. He then gets Sage Northcutt. And Sage Northcutt is actually probably the best fighter that Mickey Gall has ever beaten. I think Sage had a better UFC career than a lot of people realize. But nonetheless, that's a decent victory for Mickey Gall. He then loses to Randy Brown. No shame in that. Gets a victory over George the Silencer Sullivan. Okay. He then gets smashed by Diego Sanchez in a fight you and I were both at, and we called that fight. We both said it was going to be a levels fight. That Diego Sanchez.
Was a meat locker that night for us.
It was a meat locker for sure. And Gall was a huge favorite in that fight. So again, beats a reporter, beats a wrestler from the WWE, gets a win over Sage Northcutt, impressive, beats the Silencer. And then lose to Diego Sanchez before most recently getting a win over Salim Tuhari, my Polish brother who never won in the UFC and a couple months ago just got arrested on suspected drug trafficking. He was running with the infamous Polish gang Magdalena Kralka. So not great news for Salim Tuhari nonetheless.
No.
Here's my entire point. Mickey Gall hasn't beat anyone that great. The best win of his career is Sage Northcutt, who recently had his face shattered over by Cosmo. How do you think this fight's going to go down? I spent a lot of time talking about Mickey Gall and why I think his resume just isn't that great going up against a guy like Mike Perry. Tell me about Platinum Mike Perry and who you got in this one, meat boy.
Yeah, I'm going to take Platinum Mike Perry. I mean, for one, his energy is unmatched. The character, he's just so fun to watch from the beginning of the hype to the fight of, the day of the fight. But yeah, he's got so much experience under his belt. I mean, he's got fights with Donald Cerrone, Vicente Luque, Geoff Neal. He did lose to those guys, but he has great wins over Paul Felder, Alex Oliveira, and I think he's gonna starch this kid. That I don't think he's ready for the Platinum Mike Perry, to be honest.
I'm with you. Yeah, if we just kind of compare the resumes, Mike Perry has clearly fought much tougher dudes, like you mentioned, Geoff Neal, Vicente Luque, Donald Cowboy Cerrone. I mean, these are tough guys. That are a lot more competent, I would argue, than Sage Northcutt and these other guys that Mickey Gall dispatched of. I mean, we remember that short elbow that Platinum Mike Perry knocked Jake Ellenberger out with. That was some impressive stuff. So I think the striking is going to be levels apart in this one as well. They're both 28 years old. Mike Perry's coming in at a -300 favorite. So the odds makers are leaning his way as well. If you look at the Tapology numbers, 74% of the audience thinks that Mike Perry is going to get the job done, with a majority saying it's going to be by KO or TKO. Do you think that Platinum Mike Perry for sure gets the finish? Do you think Gall could go the distance? What do you think about that?
I think Mike will get the finish.
Okay.
But it wouldn't surprise me if it does go decision and Mike wins. Gall is a pretty tough kid though, and he does have good ground game. But I
Yeah,
don't think it's anything that Mike Perry hasn't dealt with or seen at higher levels anyway. But one thing that is kind of funny with Mike Perry on the Tapology, where it says he's fighting out of, but it's wrong because currently he's fighting out of his girlfriend's garage gym. That's his
yeah.
camp right now, that's the one concerning thing that I only see with Mike, is that he's dropped everyone. He has his girlfriend as his trainer, nutritionist, which is just something Mike Perry would totally do. But I think it's still gonna pay off because he's just had so much experience where I don't think it's really gonna matter for him.
Yeah, you nailed it on top of that. This is just kind of Mike Perry being Mike Perry, right? If you told
Hmm.
me that there's a UFC fighter showing up with no corner and instead is only going to have his girlfriend there as support, I would,
Yeah, it's
I'd be
so funny.
flabbergasted. I'd be flabbergasted until you told me that that was Mike Perry, to which I'd say, oh, okay, makes sense, right? So it's one of the greater MMA social experiments of recent memory for sure. I just tend to think that he's still, even with his girlfriend as a corner person, that much better than Mickey Gall. That's how I see it
Agreed.
personally. We're both going with Platinum Mike Perry. Take it to the grill, meat boys.